Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here. As promised, we have another exclusive preview here on the platform. Sacred book in hand. You know what time it is. It's time to talk about... Oh, God, my pen. No. This is what I get for trying to be smooth. Today, we're talking about Mafia Definitive Edition. This is a from-the-ground-up remake of the original Mafia from many years ago. Admittedly, this is a Mafia that I never played. However, I am a die-hard fan of Mafia 2. I've replayed that game a disgusting, sickening amount of times. I strongly believe that Mafia 2 is one of the best stories ever told of the 360 PS3 generation. And quite truthfully, I think Mafia 3 is a bit underrated. That gameplay loop really hurt the game, but the narrative there was some really strong moments. So with Hangar 13's potential, and now we have a from the ground up remake, how exactly does Mafia Definitive Edition fare? Do we feel the PS2 spirit within this game? Or is this more along the lines of a true 2020 game? Well, we're going to be getting into all of that. Get cozy. Let's talk a little bit about the story. So you play as Tommy Angelo. The game begins in a cafe where seemingly we're towards the middle point or the end of the story where Tommy's trying to escape his current life with the Mafia, and you're wondering how exactly did he get to this point? And that's exactly what the story tries to build up to. And the way that Tommy gets involved with the Mafia and how he truly buys into everything they're doing, I'm gonna be honest, it didn't work on me at all. So let's go through some of the pacing issues that happened in the first number of chapters and how I thought things were a little tedious, I'll be honest, because it's a lot of driving. Right away, the first mission, we have two members of the Mafia who force Tommy into an escape. This is his first encounter with the Mafia. So mission 1, driving. Mission 2, standard day as a taxi driver. It's driving again. Mission 3, Tommy's car gets roughed up a little bit. This is his breaking point. This is what makes him want to join the Mafia. So he hops on in, breaks some cars. It's a small mission. And then mission 4, you're driving around again. You're a race car driver. There's a lot of driving. And when Hayden Blackman, director of Hangar 13, as well as this game here, said that they wanted to include a lot more variety in the side content because they understood that it really did hurt the experience of Mafia 3 when things got repetitive, I have to say that this didn't build any confidence in me that they were actually doing that. With that in mind, the build of this game I'm playing did not have what they call the free ride mode. So there is this ability to enter this mode and go into just a truly open world experience. However, there is also a story mode where you're just doing what you've done in Mafia 2 and even Mafia 3, where you're going mission to mission to mission. It seems like there's something completely separate there that we don't know all that much about. One mode allows you to drive around both the countryside and the city, whereas the other mode allows you to drive around a smaller quadrant of that very same city. So I'm not sure where they differ there, what they offer content-wise, but that was not available for me to check out in this build of the game. So for me, the tough part about getting invested in the story was pretty much that Tommy was like, I'm not about the criminal lifestyle. I don't need that. I want to just be on my own, minding my own business. But then his cab gets roughed up and like this is his breaking point. He goes from hesitant to just like, I'm in, it would be an honor. And he loves the family. Like he's all about it. I didn't really find that super compelling. And I thought this was easily something that they could have worked around with the remake. Like this is the idea of the remake, make those things better. And the voice acting itself, at first I was like, this is not good, but it grew on me a lot over time. I really liked it because I'm so used to the Mafia 2, like, hey, wise guy, huh? And given that Mafia 1's set in Chicago, I think that that's why I had that moment of, wait, what is this? This doesn't sound right. But like I said, over time, really grew on me, really ended up liking the performances. So I felt like the beginning of the story is very slow out the gate. I had access to the first 5 missions and then it skipped to chapter 10. And I will say, when it skipped to chapter 10, this is a mission, as you can see on screen, that I think a lot of you would already have been familiar with because IGN did release the full mission already. But when I played there, getting your hands on it compared to the pacing and things happening earlier, this is much more opened up. It's much more enjoyable. It's intense. It's that feeling that Mafia 2 and 3 really lived off of that, oh my gosh, everything's going wrong. This is so off the walls. This is so crazy, but yet it's believable. And so hopefully we see more of that as the story picks up. But those early 5 missions did not build confidence in me in the terms of variety, as well as just grabbing me. Yes, there was a racing mission, which is technically different from what you were doing in the open world between shooting, breaking cars, and as well as just driving around as a taxi cab guy. I get that, but conceptually speaking, they all felt very similar. One of the major questions I received was about performance for Mafia Definitive Edition. As most of you are probably familiar with already, we had remasters / re-releases of Mafia 2 and 3. Mafia 2 remaster was the one a lot of people were excited about. How exactly does this fare currently, given that Mafia 2's remaster performed terribly across all platforms? And from my experience, I played it on the PC. I don't know how it'll do on consoles, but on the PC, Mafia Definitive Edition ran just fine. No hiccups, no screen tears. FPS was a stable 60 the whole time. It looked good. The city really felt alive. The atmosphere was there. So overall, performance-wise, right now, no concerns. But the atmosphere is really, for me, what builds Mafia, between the 30s music in this case, as well as some of the older style buildings, lines overhead, the types of vehicles you're in, the ambient conversations you're gonna overhear, the focus on the Great Depression. A lot of this builds the world, and it makes it so exciting to get involved in. And that's why the biggest Achilles heel of the Mafia series has always and forever been the side content, because the stories are almost always good. It's about making something compelling and interesting that's surrounding the story that doesn't feel mandatory. It's optional. You don't have to do it. It doesn't give you power or take out brackets, any of that. It's just side missions and things to do. It's always been the Achilles heel, because same thing with LA Noire. You're like, I want to be here. I want to do more, but the game will not let me. So hopefully with that free ride mode and some of the content that they're adding, this could be what brings the world to a whole other level. Because you have games like, say, The Saboteur, which is one of my favorite open world games ever, but you don't see this era of time often explored in an open world setting with tons of content in that world to go and dive into. So just hopefully, and I know I keep saying it, hopefully, but I really do pray that they are doing something about that. As for the combat itself, it plays a lot like Mafia 3. It controls that way. There is a little more interactivity with the environment, such as breaking the boxes that people would be taking cover behind, exploding lanterns, that type of stuff that it's hard to find flexibility in that era, right? To add like technology and things that really react to your gunfire. But I think they did a good job here of keeping what worked in Mafia 3, which was just nice, solid third-person shooting gunplay without too much help from the aim assist. Sometimes these third-person games, like when I tested out Watch Dogs Legion, that game, man, my God, like you were just locking on to people. This game actually has you aim. It's great, really. But it plays well. It feels good. I thought Mafia 3 felt good as a third-person shooter, so I was pretty excited about that. Also, another cool gameplay mechanic that's in this, and it's in other Mafia games too, but it's the simulation settings that you have access to that I feel can once again really build the world even more if you want to get that involved in. This is like things such as following the rules of the road. Like when you see a red light, you got to stop. When you're speeding, a cop will try to follow you and pull you over. Driving recklessly will pull the attention of the police and they will follow you. Like, those types of simulation rules, I think, are really interesting for the game, especially in those missions where they want you to be speeding around and you have to pay attention to your surroundings and watch the cops at the same time as getting someone there in a timely fashion. So I feel like that could add a little bit to the game. I know a lot of people like that stuff in Mafia. It's here in this game as well, and I personally appreciated it once more. And with that atmosphere building and plus some of the story moments, I got a real feel for the, I put this in quotes, service of the Mafia, end quote, of this time period, where you see businesses that were being forced into receiving their protection as they extracted money out of them. It highlights the corruption of the city at the time. And as someone who's been watching Fear City over on Netflix, which is about the mafia during the 70s in New York City, it was kind of interesting to see these two line up and coincide, even though they're two totally different time periods, but to kind of get that broader perspective on how exactly the mafia approached things. I did feel, though, the story had a bit of nuance and tapped into what I was seeing in those documentaries and those real life examples, which made the story a little bit better, a little more true to life. And so that helped me buy in more despite what was happening with Tommy's reasoning. Visually speaking, from lighting of bright neon signs to when it's raining and you could see the headlights of a car and the rain just peering straight through those cones of light, to character models, to buildings, overall game looked great. It ran great. It played well. It's the story and the side content options that I walked away a little hesitant with. It's nothing that you gotta turn tail and run away from. Don't be afraid. Plus, in all fairness, this is a $40 game. This is not a $60 game. So that does make some of the things I'm saying a little bit easier to forgive, of course. So I'm personally not alarmed or sitting here freaking out. It's just things that I think you guys should be aware of heading into this game's launch. So yeah, those are generally my thoughts on Mafia Definitive Edition. Interesting story, very slow out the gate. Hopefully it develops a little bit quicker. I liked some of the gameplay when it came to that mission where it was raining out and it opened up. There was a lot more cover to take. There was a lot more gunfights. There was a bigger story moment. It felt much more chaotic in a really good way. Plus this game's nuance of bringing to life the Mafia in a true, believable fashion. There's a lot to be excited about, but you know, just temper your expectations a little bit because there are some things that I had an issue with story-wise, and we'll see in the full release. I'm looking forward to playing it still. I do plan on picking it up. So overall, I was convinced that my purchase would be safe, but there were some things I didn't expect to be worried about that I ended up being worried about. So hopefully I did a good job explaining all that for you guys. We still got one more preview coming this week. I really hope you guys are excited. It's going to be a big one, so I can't wait to see everyone's response to this video. If you missed it, do check out my Outriders impressions, which I'll have linked in the description down below. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you to it. Fire away in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to kill it with that support. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.